Are you wondering why you are continuing to gain weight and you don't know why? That's what we're going to talk about, because this is a big issue and it's affecting a lot of people. And I'm seeing it over and over again, especially people in my age group. There is truth. Our metabolisms change, absolutely. And it does get harder to lose weight. In fact, I just recently quit prep because I was just not able to lose weight at the rate that I needed. But that being said, there are some main reasons why we are gaining weight, and we just need to start talking about it and being honest. The first, and probably one of the most controversial things that I'm going to say today, which could get me kicked out of the Midlife Women's Club, is you could be drinking your calories. And I'm talking about the wine o'clock gals. You know who you are. And listen, I don't fault anybody for wanting a glass of wine at the end of a long, stressful week, but more often than not, when I start digging down into it with people that I know are my friends, it's more like a glass or two an evening or something to unwind. And that really has a big caloric impact. And so does the smoothies that you think could be healthy. Unless you are accurately tracking those macros in your smoothies, in the sodas, in your alcohol, you're drinking a lot of calories that could go to wholesome food that's going to make you feel fuller longer. And even drinking those prefab protein shakes, I ask you why. And I drink them too sometimes when I'm in a bind, but that is something that's the exception to the rule. It's not something that you want to have as part of a regular practice. Just an average protein shake is going to be upwards of over 200 calories. You're probably going to have anywhere between, I would say, 5 to maybe 10 grams of fat per container. And there could be a carbohydrate load too. It's just, in the end, it's not worth it. But especially my wine o'clock gals, really, I know that you think about this as being like your reward for getting through the evening, but try and think of something else that's not going to impact your progress, because that's super, super important. So the first thing is there could be a chance that you're drinking your calories. The second one, and this is really, really a difficult one for me. I'm even moving closer for this one because I like to cook. And when I like to cook, I like to taste. And when I'm tasting my food, there's a very good chance that I'm eating a lot more than I'm anticipating that I am. And that leads to mindless eating. A little handful of this, a little spoonful of that, all of those things add up to be a lot of calories. Now, that being said, you might be a nut person. Like my husband, well, my husband's just a nut, but my husband is absolutely a nut person. He loves a handful of nuts here or there. Well, that stuff can really add up quickly. So take a look at your snack foods. Take a look at when you're cooking. When I'm being diligent, like I just fell victim to this last night, I made a fabulous chicken thigh and rice bake. It was wonderful, it was delicious. And here's a spoonful of rice and another spoonful of rice. And before I know it, I've gone far over the allotment of carbs that I had for the day, just for me and my own personal goals. So if you're gonna be cooking and you know you're gonna be tasting, take a measured amount. Like if you're doing a protein, already account for an ounce of that protein. Or if you're doing something that's in a volume measure, put something out that like already pre-planned, like a quarter cup of something so you can taste. But all of those little tastes here or there add up to a lot of calories, a lot of extra fat. And a lot of people, and myself included in the past, would just leave these off because it wasn't a meal. And just because it wasn't a meal, it still counts. And it can still add up and it can still have a big impact on your progress. So that's definitely another thing that you need to take in consideration. Now, I've said this time and time again, and I feel like our culture in particular is really victimizing us when it comes to sleep. Sleep and sleep disorders exacerbate any issues that you're having. If you're depressed and you're not sleeping well, it's going to exacerbate your depression. If you are having problems losing weight and you're not sleeping well, it's going to make that problem even worse. And the same thing goes that if you're in a pattern of overeating and just eating in not a very healthy way, your poor sleep can drive your hunger cues and make you want to eat more. I remember back in the days when my kids were not sleeping very much, my son in particular, I would have some of those rough nights where I'm like working on just an hour or two sleep, and all I wanted to do was just eat bagels. Like I just wanted carbs. I just wanted that comfort food. And that craving is actually a hormonal response to fatigue. If you're not getting really good restful sleep, you could be short-circuiting any progress that you're trying to make right now. So it's really important, and I'm coming to you as a person where I only get about 6 hours of sleep a night during the weeknights, but they're usually very solid quality hours of sleep. So I'm usually in bed by 9:30, and on my working training days, I'm up by 3:45 in the morning. No, it's not ideal, but when I'm super tired, I make sure, like what I do is I stagger my workout days. So I have days where I sleep in a little bit longer, like, 4:15, but I do account for those times so I can get longer sleep. Also, to get better sleep, you want to consider having a sleep ritual. I have my cup of tea at night. I have the supplements I use to help me when it comes to staying asleep, like magnesium glycinate. All of those things are just part of my sleep ritual, so that way mentally I am preparing myself for sleep as well as physically. Just like we would do for a baby when we're sleep training and having a sleep ritual so the child knows that this is the precursor to sleep, and then after this we're going to be laying in our crib. Adults, we still need the same thing. And sitting up in front of the TV just clicking away is not signaling to your body that you're ready to sleep. So consider that. Consider turning off your TV a half hour earlier and just doing a few things that are going to relax you and prepare you for a restful night's sleep. And I guarantee you, if you harness the power of sleep, your hunger cues are definitely going to reduce. Now, this is a hard one, and I have done this so many times, and I think I've shared about it in other videos. Rewarding myself with food. Here was the faulty thinking that I had. I had the faulty thinking that when I hit a goal weight, because weight back in the day for me was like the epitome of all my physical goals. It wasn't muscle mass, it wasn't physical ability. It was like, no, am I skinny enough? Well, here's the crazy thing. I would hit my goal weight, and I had this messed up thinking where I would think, once I hit my goal weight, now I can eat like everybody else. I don't know what everybody else eats like, but somehow I convinced myself in my brain that everybody else got to eat with impunity. They got to eat with no repercussions whatsoever. And that's just not the case. People who can eat whatever they want with no impact to their physique are unicorns. Those are anomalies. That is not the average person. I am definitely an average person where what I eat affects my physique. How I eat affects my physique. So I needed to stop rewarding myself for food. If I had a long work day, what can I do other than rewarding myself with comfort food or a comfort drink to make me feel like, yes, Jen, you did a great job, you made it through? What are some healthy things I can do? I would rather spend the money on a pedicure or something like that that's pampering rather than give myself a food reward, because once you start down that path, you're going to want it more and more and more. And this is really important with our kids too. I've learned that I had in the early ages of my kids, I would like get them for like special days or like in celebrations, like a cupcake or something like that. And now I'm changing that narrative because as a mom, I guess I just wanted to give them something sweet, and I still do, but I realized it's not the healthiest choice for them. And honestly, it's not really what they want. There's a bunch of other things that they would rather do than just be rewarded for food. So this is what I want you to think about. The next time you want a reward for either a solid day's work or you need some comfort for a long day, think about something that is not food related. A hot bath, a nice cup of tea, conversation with a friend. Go get coffee with a friend. Not a frappuccino, not like a ton of calories, but think about how you can reward yourself by connecting with others rather than just connecting with food. And the other thing I think that's really important, and I also was like this too, I think a lot of people experience this. I would gain weight back very frequently because I had an all or nothing approach to how I ate. So I would, I would diet or I would work out consistently, and this applies to both. And I would diet, do really good. I'd be in the gym like 5 days a week and I would be killing it. And then one thing would set me off, or one thing would change and disrupt this pattern that I started, and that just shot the whole thing out. I was so all or nothing. I wasn't really thinking about how can this be sustainable. And I've talked about this in my videos before, where you could go to the gym 5, 6, 7 days a week, but what winds up happening over a long period of time is people burn out. You need to do things like deload weeks. You need to do things like actually institute breaks in your training to allow your body to recover and your mind to have a break. And it's the same thing when we're talking about food. You don't have to be all or nothing when it comes to a particular diet. There are shades of gray, but the thing is you want to lock down whatever shade you're going to be in and just kind of use it as a guideline to guide your path through your journey on nutrition. So that way, if you have, like back in the day, I would walk into a faculty room and there'd always be donuts or sweets there. And I knew if I had one that I was just gonna say, to hell with it, and just destroy the whole day. And you don't have to do that. So try your best to not be all or nothing about your food. Try your best to get some rest. Try your best not to drink your calories. All of these things definitely will put on weight without you even realizing it. And another thing is too, it kind of goes along with the first thing where we're talking about like eating consistently but not tracking anything. Just realize that if you are gaining weight, divorcing that from what stage you may be at life, and I'm coming to you as a menopausal woman, there are strong chances that you are eating more than you realize. So I strongly suggest that you use a tracker and track every single thing that you bite or drink, so that way you can get a clear picture of where you're at. Now, I did other videos on how you could calculate your macros, so you can find them here if you would like to learn how you can calculate your macros and see what your nutrition goals should be. But I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you in the next one, everyone.